Welcome back. So, Dexter, after two wonderful sessions, the keynote address and the masterclass, it's time to shift to listening to stories. How about it? See, stories, as we were discussing the other day, have a way of teaching us that facts and theories alone cannot. After all, we learn better through stories. To share their side of stories, we have two experts joining us for the fireside chat to share their personal journeys and coaching experiences, which will give us practical rituals and ethical boundaries for sustaining resilience in real life. And when we talk in terms of showing up with resilience, there can't be a better example. We have Mr. Kurian, who has reached back yesterday night from an overseas flight and still recovering from jet lag. And we have from Virginia at 2:30 of her time. So I'll just introduce them before handing it over. So, Parambi, former Executive Director HR in BPCL, the second largest oil PSU in the country, and which is a Fortune 500 company. He has rich experience of over 3 decades in HR and leadership development. I very well remember how hard it was, and still he could prevail upon this senior management to reintroduce coaching for the senior leadership. We may get to hear about it. He has partnered with global leaders to drive organizational transformation and coaching with a leading Indian conglomerate. He brings a practitioner's perspective, a passion for innovation, and a love for sports and travel. Welcome, Mr. Kurian.
Thank you, Sandeep. Pleasure being with you and the others.
Yeah. So, and the other panelist we have, Brenda. She's a dynamic, people-centered leadership coach with over 20 years of experience in process improvement, project management, and coaching across industries and continents. As the founder of Udugu Journey LLC, she empowers leaders and teams through coaching, agile training, and consulting, fostering both independence and interdependence. She also leads Echoes of Silence, a nature-based retreat center that offers reflective and wellness programs for teens and adults, cultivating resilience, mindfulness, and inner peace. And Brenda has invited me to Virginia to experience it. Thanks, Brenda, for joining us.
Thank you, Sandeep.
If you could be a bit louder.
Oh, thank you, Sandeep. Is this better?
I know.
All right.
So, Kurian and Brenda, we just heard from Lola Chetty in a masterclass that resilience enables us to function effectively, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. In this fireside chat, to begin with, it may be interesting to reflect on the very thought that helped you stay resilient and be here with us today. Despite challenges like jet lag for Kurian and extremely inconvenient hour for Brenda. Over to you, Kurian.
Yeah, okay. So, like I said, I'd committed to this session, and so I said, regardless of whatever physical shape I am in, mentally I am fully clued in. Yes, I am tired, but the very thought of sharing whatever experiences that I've had over the years, both in the organization and subsequently as an emerging coach. I'll start off by sharing an anecdote about which I thought would be an example in resilience. So while I was head of HR, I once had a very difficult proposal to get cleared through the board. And that was about rolling out assessment development centers for senior leaders in BPCL. So as is my, well, you can say habit as a leader, I make it a point to go and meet the board members, the functional directors, before the actual board meeting. And so I ran this proposal through each of them and got their buy-in. And surprisingly, when the proposal was presented to the board, there were a lot of questions, a lot of uncomfortable ones, especially because at that point in time, we were in the cusp of disinvestment. And so the question was, why now? So my response was that I always believe that whatever is good for the organization and good for employees, necessary for the organization and necessary for employees, especially senior leadership, I felt that there was no question of not having it run even while the process of disinvestment was on. I got a very strong pushback from some of the directors that I banked on, including my functional director, essentially from the point of view of timing of doing the exercise, and they felt that we can probably take it up at a later stage or time. I was honestly very devastated by the pushback, but I went back, not letting go, not because it was my personal agenda, but only because I felt that the leadership, emerging leaders needed it more than anybody else, and more particularly in the context of the situation that we were in. And I went back, did the whole course again, and whole course of running it through them again, and understanding what were their reservations about clearing the proposal and letting the process run. Because ADCs, as we all know and we are familiar with, is to measure potential of particularly of emerging leaders and making them emerge stronger in whatever we are going to be doing for the organization in their respective roles. To cut a long story short, I was able to push it through. And later I realized that when I reflected on it, and I do a lot of reflection, honestly, when I reflected back, I realized that although the word resilience may not have rung a bell or may have not have been top of the mind, but I honestly believe that it was a good situation where I handled the situation well, and the resilience came to fore. So very happy about that. And I hope that some of you are able to resonate with what I've just shared.
So I will pick up from what Kurian just shared, and I will look at it from a perspective of a coach and a client. Allow me to start by just going back to the definition of resilience. I was part of a psychology class, and one of my favorite professor, Dr. Becky, actually said that resilience, the word resilience is seen in the process of coming from not knowing to knowing. During that process of trying to know something, you experience, the first thing is frustration. Different emotions come through, and this is where we see resilience. It is actually a process which a person goes through. So take, for example, when you get injured, okay? The body goes through stress. It goes through a particular process. And I want to marry that process to what Kurian just shared just now. So first of all, you're going to go through stress, isn't it? Your body is going to deteriorate. Probably you have to stop, pause, and allow your body to rest. And then during that resting period, you are probably learning different things, adapting to the changes that your body is going through. You are recovering, and then you come out of that situation. How are you going to come out of that situation? It's either you're going to learn something. So basically, your body goes through a process of learning from the injury. And it's the same that we go through when, like, from not knowing to knowing, you're in a situation, and that situation frustrates you, overwhelms you, but how do you bounce back? That's where we see resilience. So Kurian went to the board and presented a few things. This is where we see different models of resilience. First of all, he went, they rejected the whatever he had presented to them. When you get a rejection, in that process, you either want to pursue it further because something deep down within you says, hey, you are fighting for something that you value the most, or it's you give up. And why do you give up? It's because you are identifying with the rejection. So it's actually called the compensatory model, where a person identifies with the rejection that they are given. So there are two characters that comes into play there. First of all, it's either they identify themselves with the rejection and they give up, or they say to themselves, hey, what I am fighting for is more valuable. So I am going to learn from the rejection and I will pivot my approach and go back again and try again. So that's where the challenge model then comes in, where you're challenging yourself and taking a different direction to your approach. Okay, and in that challenge, you are looking at different ways of doing things. And from a coaching perspective, we can help our clients with navigating the approach that they are going to take. The third model that comes from resilience is the protective model, whereby a person, because of what they believe and their values, it drives them to want to protect that and fight back and pursue, so that they see themselves winning in that situation, because it's tying back to a value. So if we go back to Korean, to him, it was something that resonated with the values that he believed. He was fighting for the employees, and probably it identified as, hey, I want to be this person. So for me to be that person, these are the things that I'm going to fight. Was I on mute all this time?
No, you were put on mute uniformly by the
everyone was
admin
put
team.
on mute to prevent us knowing the grocery purchases of some households.
Okay, so and then so an individual will then pursue resilient because it's emanating from the values that they have. And some individuals will actually have a process that supports those values. And this is where we see the learning, the adapting. We see resilient manifesting in different ways. There's also a definition of resilient that I really like. I came across this on one of the TikTok videos, and it says that resilient is not about being independent. Okay, it's not about you only, but it's about interdependent. That means you and the network that surrounds you. The professor who was sharing on TikTok then goes on to say that resilience, you have to look at it from the capabilities of your system. Okay, everything that surrounds you, how is it supporting you when you fall? Okay, you yourself, how are you supporting yourself? The relationships that you have, how are they supporting yourself? The environment that you're in, how is it supporting yourself? So resilience, it's systemic in nature. It's looking at everything that surrounds you and how it's able to lift you up when you fall.
Brenda, I've got a thought occurred to me while you were talking eloquently on the subject, including referring to some theories. Let me just ask you to help me with this thought, which has always bothered me. Typically, in an organizational context, you would have people who have setbacks, and many a time because of burnout. And in such situations, the individual, firstly, may not be willing to accept that he or she is facing burnout or is had a setback, because seldom will you find in an organizational context, unless you have very good friends who you can confide in, to whom you can walk across and say, listen, I had this setback and I'm clueless as to how to deal with it. So this is a situation that most of us or many of us would face and have faced, not just in professional context, but also on the personal side. So firstly, admitting and being aware, being willing to admit that you're facing a setback, that you're or a situation that you're not able to cope up with, and how to handle the situation, as in reach out to somebody or go to a coach. Going to the coach may not be the first thing that occurs to anybody, particularly in an organizational context. So how would you think a situation like this can be handled?
So from um, you rightfully say that no one is going to say to themselves, "Hey, I am burning out," unless they have that mind trained out to identify, like they are watching their behaviors and seeing, "Hey, something is misaligning here." Uh, but if they constantly engage with a coach, there are certain things from a coaching perspective that we could listen to in terms of their speech. Okay, there are certain words that they use that can actually identify, hey, this person is going through burnout. Okay, so there's the voice of exhaustion, where you can see that this person, the way they are talking, they are tired. And they might be talking in terms of, oh, I have to just do this. I have to finish this. I have to finish this. And they find themselves going over the limit and not giving them enough time for family or enough time for other activities. So in that case, you hear with the way that they talk that, hey, this person is actually going through burnout because of that voice of exhaustion. You can even tell with their posture when you're talking with them. Some of them might complain of headaches. Some of them, you can see they fidget a lot. You can see that their body is not relaxed. And those are signs that, hey, this person is not getting enough rest because of exhaustion. Another voice that I've seen coming through is from teams, where you hear somebody say, you know what, I've tried my best. Whatever they do, I don't care. I work with a lot of teams, and in a culture that is toxic, where their voice has not been heard, quite often you hear things like, well, I've done my best. Whatever they do, I don't care. They can proceed to doing that. That is a voice of like they're demotivated. They're working, but they don't care in the end result. So that shows burnout. Okay. In other situations, basically you can tell from so what I always tell clients is the self-inquiry. What voice are you hearing in yourself? Is it a voice of exhaustion? Is it a voice of giving up? Like, are you giving yourself that work-life balance that is needed? If not, then that misalignment can lead to burnout.
Yep. Completely agree with you, Brenda, because burnout is a stage where in my assessment, burnout is a stage when the situation gets aggravated. In an organizational context, I'm also reminded of the word detachment. When a person is not fully engaged with what he or she is doing, either individually or as a team member, and not contributing to the cause, And the same can be juxtaposed to to a personal situation as well. When a person is detached from something that's happening in the family, or more importantly, let's say, since we are talking essentially in the organization, detachment is a very serious kind of state of mind to be in, because your productivity is low and there's no discretionary effort that one is putting in. And that can easily be recognized from the way a person contributes in a team context. And so that gets shown up very easily, and it's not a good thing for the individual, and it's not good for the team as well. Yeah, your thoughts?
One thing that we also have to be careful of when we are looking at burnout is the cousins of burnout. Okay, as we are identifying that a person is burnout is what can I say? Burnout. We want to be very careful of mislabeling the burnout. Sometimes we could say the person is going through burnout, but they are really going through depression. And from a coaching perspective, we need to watch out for those things, the signs of depression on a person. And if it's depression, then you need to make sure that you are sending them to the right person. You're sending them to therapists, to counselors, so that they can go through the process of navigating the depression that they are going through. Another thing to watch out is anxiety. Okay, and anxiety, again, it triggers a different type of stress, and when that stress is triggered, we can mislabel it and think it's something that is connected. Yeah, it might be connected to work, work-life balance, whereby a person, they have just transitioned to a new role, and because they are scared of the new role or what is coming ahead, or they don't understand what that role entails, they then get these anxiety moments. Depending on the nature of anxiety, there's a certain level that a coach can get involved in, and then there's a certain level that they have to hand over to maybe a therapist or a counselor to help with that. Another thing is also watching out for trauma. Trauma, yes, it might come from burnout, but in most cases, it's coming from things from the past that, from a coaching perspective, we're not able to tackle those. So you want to watch out for the cousins. I call them the cousins of burnout, so that you're clearly labeling whether it's burnout or if it's trauma, and certain you have to hand it over to a therapist, a counselor, to get involved in such situations.
Brenda, I
So,
would.
Kurian,
Sorry.
see, resilience is a part of the leadership development, and you have been part of leadership development program in BPCL, which has created a new benchmark for the industry. And we evolve as leader or as a coach, Brenda, like you mentioned. So it may be interesting to learn for others as to what was that pivotal moment in your career, in your life, when you felt that you needed to be more resilient and started working towards that.
Okay, so before I answer that question, I'd first like to talk about something that created a big impression and left a big impact on me, which is the book by Peter Senge on Fifth Discipline. And while it's got many elements, I will only dwell on one, which is the learning cycle. And the learning cycle talks about people being in autopilot, whether it is, again, personal life or professional life. We are deciding and doing, and most of the time we are just doing that. And the reason why we get saturated or don't see value or see merit in what we're doing is because we don't do adequate reflection. And reflection is something that I have practiced and I have shared in all fora in my organization and elsewhere wherever I've got an opportunity. It's very important for us to have goals, micro goals, for very short term. It could be for a day. For instance, what went well, what did not go well. How did I come across to people during, let's say, a meeting? Was I assertive or was I aggressive? So these are the kind of reflections that I started practicing early in my career, and I found that it helped me a great deal. And I'd also share with you one practice which I picked up along the way. I have a small whiteboard in my study where I set out small goals. Also write down the big goals. So typically with the small goals, I do a tick off on that whiteboard. How did it go? And I rate myself. Only for my own assessment as to whether I did well enough vis-a-vis how I prepared to do it that day or that meeting or that proposal, and what is it that I could have done better. Now that is from my perspective. From the larger perspective of the audience, when I say the audience, it could be the board, it could be any team, and so on and so forth. How did I come across? How did I relate with them? Did I handle pushbacks well? All of that. So that way, after reflection, I connect the dots to see whether the larger purpose is being served, or did some ego come into play during the course of a discussion, a heated argument, whatever the situation might have been. So these are some of the tools and tackles that I deployed and continue to deploy, and find they're quite useful. I hope
Brenda?
I hope you're able to resonate with what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially the journaling part, and also Peter Singh's book on fifth discipline, which talks in terms of how reflections can help. Brenda, your take on this, please.
So resilience, personally for me, it has come with a heavy price. I found myself while it's transitioning from the 9 to 5, trying to set up my own organization. I found myself in a situation where I had so much going on, and I was overwhelmed, honestly speaking. I was coaching, I was working on trying to create a retreat on my property. I am a mother, I play multiple roles, and I found myself as I was going through the burnout exercise, I identified that, during that phase when I was going through the transitioning, I was burning out, but I just didn't label that I was burning out. So what I did was I had to find an anchor. I had to go back to the source of why am I doing this? Okay. And that anchored me to push through. So remember, I said resilience is a process. It's not a thing that you wake up and you say, oh, I am resilient. No, you have to feel injured. You have to feel some sort of stress. So that's the injury part. And then when you get injured. What makes you get up? So for me, that was the anchor, the purpose of why was I doing what I am doing? And clarifying the why, then setting steps that will then allow me to clearly see how I was going to achieve what I was going to achieve, then gave me the motive to keep going, because I had clarified why am I doing what I'm doing. Then I had created certain actions that I knew I had to achieve in terms of for me to achieve those for me to achieve my why. But not only that, remember, I was now overwhelmed with all the activities that I'm going through. So prioritization was very important. Setting boundaries was very important. Getting the right relationships surrounding me, defining those relationships and what I want them to look like, and the support I need from those relationships was very important. So, for example, my husband became my accountability partner. When you see that I am working after 6 o'clock, please pull me, just knock at the door and say, time out, do something. Okay. My kids also became my accountability partner. When you see me overwork and I have made a promise to you, come on, scream, do something so that it takes me out of that context. Certain colleagues became also my accountability partners in the certain milestones that I needed to achieve and to give me direction. So resilience was a process that I had to go through and really put a structure to it, because without structure, you can easily feel like you're being resilient, but sometimes it can be a misjudgment of the resilient. You don't want to be resilient on the wrong things that are harming your values. Sometimes we keep grinding and grinding because we want to achieve something, but it's actually harming you in a way. And that's another thing that as I was going through that journey, I took it into my coaching my coaching environment, and I now look for those things. My client are they being resilient at the right things? You know, are they pushing through for the right things? Are they fighting for the right things? And when you have clarified what you're fighting for, your why, it makes it easy for you to push through. It's not as painful as it will be when you don't have a compass that's anchoring you.
So, Dexter, my clock says 7 to 8 minutes. At this point in time, any point which you would like to bring up for the discussion?
So we have 15 minutes actually, Sandeep, till 1:15.
Including the question answer time.
Yeah, I think what's happening is that everybody seems to be absorbing things. And we've had 2 sessions that it is amazing how the segue is taking place between what Kurian and Brenda are saying about burnout and listening to the voice of exhaustion, or listening to the voice of, coping with it, or keeping up or keeping pace, to recognize what is really the life cycle of burnout, beginning from the early signs of dealing with stress in a good way, as even Brenda and Kurian have said, that you need some level of stress to understand how to build up resilience. You cannot not have stress, and I think this is a wonderful segue that has come through. So this is coming from their own personal experiences, and I think that's making the difference. So please do continue giving us insights into your lives. Thank you so much, Kurian and Brenda.
Yeah. So I'd like to also, now this is not my personal experience, but something I'm a very passionate follower of cricket and several other games like tennis. One of the things that I noticed is that the ability of the individual, I'm talking being a bystander, a follower of the game, when one gets dropped from a team, or when one gets moved from the position that they are in, let's say an opening batsman in cricket to lower down the order, somebody being shunted around, that can be interpreted by the individual concerned in several ways, right? So, from a coaching context, it is very important for the captain and the coach to do honest conversation. And what I'm hearing these days is that a lot of honest conversation happens in the dressing room, where the coach and captain take the person into confidence and say, go and express yourself, go and do your own thing, play freely. You don't have to fear the prospect of being dropped if you don't do well in a particular match or a particular tournament. The same can be extended to, let's say, professional organizational context as well. The importance of the individual, importance at being attached to the individual through honest conversation. And when I juxtapose that to the coaching context, it is very important for the coach, assuming that the relationship has already been established, it's very important for the coach to give that feeling of comfort to the client, essentially through empathy, that I hear what you say, I am able to resonate with what you're saying, and I'm here to help. So that is another thing that it can be universally applied. When the conversation is honest, is free, frank, and fair, and all the cards are laid on the table, when there is complete trust and candor in that conversation. Brenda, your thoughts?
Yeah, and I think that's one missing voice that we did not speak about now as I'm listening to what you're saying, the voice of inefficiency. So as a coach, I need to look out for when a person is saying, I will never catch up, or when they are speaking from a defeat perspective. Okay, so when you hear a person talking from that angle, they are overwhelmed, and you need to make them see the small wins that they are achieving. Okay, so paying attention to their body language, like they're defeated, so you can see from their face that this person is about to give up. How do you then uplift that person from a coaching perspective? Is making sure that they are seeing the small wins that they are achieving. There's a theory in the Native Americans called the Dine Zoho resilience model. And one of the things that I like about that model is it talks about confidence as a pillar to resilience. So confidence is emanating from how do you look at yourself and how do you resonate with the environment? Do you have confidence in your capabilities? Now, when we look at confidence in your capabilities, we're now doing a gap analysis to see your skill sets. Are you, as you probably you've transitioned to a new role, or it's just a new situation that is overwhelming you and you're seeing defeat. You're now speaking of defeat. Now, why do you feel defeat? Is it because you lack confidence in your skill set? So we then do a gap analysis on your skill sets, okay? Is it because you're not confident in your interactions with the different people that are in the room? And this is where we see imposter syndrome emanating in teams, and people are not able to fully express themselves because they feel like I don't I'm not at the same level with Brenda. So having a conversation with them, I feel challenged. I cannot speak up for myself. And then confidence in their posture, in their body themselves, like how they are. So this takes us back to health and wellness of a being. And from a coaching perspective, you can see it as you're speaking to them, that this person doesn't have confidence in themselves, and it's maybe because of their image. And so you start navigating on how do we improve that confidence. So that's a beautiful model that looks at resilience from a holistic perspective, and confidence is just one piece of it, but they bring in other aspect of joy, happiness, how does a person define joy and stuff like that, and it draws back to your values and the things that you like. But I brought in confidence because it plays a big role when it comes to resilience. And we really need to make sure that as we are talking to the clients, we're giving them tools that can help them build confidence in themselves, confidence in the relationships that they have.
Brenda, just brief thought. In a discussion which we have had, it was also talked about the coach needs to have the courage to show in case even if they are broken, and also encourage the client. So vulnerability is companion to the strength. So sometimes in case if maybe we keep harping about it, do you think it'll impact the coach or the client showing up as vulnerable and learning even more?
So I think the relationship between you and the client, where I come from is I want to create a safe space where my clients show up all their vulnerabilities. And I want to be vulnerable so that I create that safe space where my client is also feeling that I am there, I am meeting them where they are. So when I navigate vulnerability in a relationship between a client and a coach, there are different ways that you can see it, and it's a journey. So in the early stages of your relationship with your client, it's going to be challenging to navigate vulnerability talks. So giving them exercises that maybe you don't want to directly speak about them burnout, because you're working with a person who is I'm going to use a word from the Ayurveda, a Pitta person who is an overachiever, okay? And burnout is a word that they don't even want to get associated with. So you give them a checklist to say, hey, I want you to do this exercise and pay attention. So there are different assessments that you can give them that can actually show them that, hey, you're burning out. Your work life is not balanced and you need to come back and balance it. So in the early stages of that relationship, vulnerability might be a challenge. But I expect as I am growing with this client, I have to be comfortable to challenge them and speak about different things in our conversation as coach and client. So with their permission, of course. And for you to create that, you have to bring in yourself fully and be vulnerable with them. ICF really drives the issue of, making sure that you're not stepping out of the boundaries with your client, asking them, hey, be comfortable not answering this question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway, and just let me know if you're not comfortable with asking. What that does is that we have a consciousness that after we speak, even if the client tells me, listen, I'm not comfortable talking about this right now. I know in our next session, they have had time to think about it. They're going to say, hey, Brenda, last time you asked me this question, I was not comfortable talking about it, but I've had time to think about it. And and the conversation has already started. So it's the more you keep engaging and the more you nurture the relationship with your client, the issue of vulnerability, it erodes. You create a safe space where both you and your client can be vulnerable with each other, but it doesn't come overnight. It's a process that you have to nurture.
So what I'm hearing, Brenda and Kurian, is that if you keep the doors of conversation open on a regular basis, you will be able to create that safe space in which people can be vulnerable. And the more you throw into that room of vulnerability, the more you are able to empathize with that. Because if you too add to that vulnerability as a coach or as a leader, then everybody knows that there is no armor being worn by the other person in the room while we are going naked into it. And therefore, a lot of sensitive issues could be brought to the surface and talked about. And it kind of reminds me that resilience is not an individual thing. It's a community. It's a whole community that helps build this up. Just like in a family with children, if you keep berating the child and picking fault, even though they're doing well, the child will ultimately not do well at all. Similarly, in a competitive world, if we don't give enough positive strokes or positive appreciation and allow people's vulnerabilities, even the best performer has vulnerabilities, who should not be afraid to show them instead of trying to protect it. So, do you, in your experience also, there's a question that has come up. Are you able to sift through the various nuances of resilience and say, okay, I think I know where this lack of resilience is coming from. It's coming from extreme stress or burnout or the voice of protection, where I don't want to be seen as vulnerable, or could there be some deeper, traumatic issues that have come from the past? In your experience, have you been able to say, okay, this kind of behavior is not, what it seems to be? There is something deeper.
So if I can address that, Dexter, very important question that you brought up. What I generally do, what I've always done and practiced is that I don't decide based on one conversation, right? Because there could be a whole host of circumstances that could lead to, let's say, typically an outburst. So let's say it's again in any context, organizational or personal. But if there is a consistent pattern that emerges, that you see that is clearly emerging, then one could be able to put the finger to what exactly is the likely cause or the likely reason of what is really concerning that individual in this context of a coach-client relationship. What is causing the distress to the client, and also help diagnose whether this requires professional help. Now, that's a very, that path has to be tread very cautiously, because one doesn't want to jump into a suggestion of seeking professional help elsewhere through either a clinical psychologist or somebody like that. So one, put very simply, yes, one needs to observe whether there is a pattern of such behavior, and that it requires other professional help.
I think that's
Yeah.
wise. Do you agree with that, Brenda? As a coach?
Yes, I agree. I agree with it. But I wanted to add on to that. I think a few things that can be barriers to resilience that I've come across as well is it might be psychological debt or physical debt, whereby a person is not getting enough sleep. Okay, or their nutritional health. So one of the things that I like doing frequently with my clients is energy audits. Okay, How are you feeling throughout the day?
Mm.
And what is depleting your energy? Okay. Is it because physically you're out of shape? Is it because you're not eating well enough because you are overconsumed with this work that you're doing and you're not having breaks at all? So, energy audits help a person actually identify what is impeding me from being resilient. I don't have enough energy to go through what I'm supposed to go through. And in other cases is poor work design. Okay, I come from Lean Six Sigma, and one of the things that I remember doing with teams is looking at our workspace. Okay, how is it structured? Is it structured in a way that we can be efficient? Okay, the same, the way that you work, is there so much clutter in your workspace that you're not able to think properly? Okay, that needs to that's an impediment to you being resilient. Value conflict, is what I'm doing conflicting with my values? Again, if it is conflicting with your values, you won't have the energy to move through. You don't have an anchor. So it's very important that we identify the barriers of resilience. Maybe you're isolating yourself. You're not putting yourself in the spaces where you need to nurture such relationships that can support you. And this is coming from experience. As an entrepreneur, it's a solo journey. It's like it's a very silent journey. If you don't go out there and look for relationships that can support you, you can easily give up. You need to make sure you're surrounded by people that lift you up and pull you through. So identifying, sorry, Sandy, I love talking. So yeah, you have to cut me off sometimes.
Meaning, all through the 3 sessions we have been through during the day, the audience as well as we in the MC feel that we should have engaged you for a longer duration. There's so much wisdom flowing, and the sharing around resilience has been truly insightful, whether it's learning from rejection or understanding how coaches can support clients dealing with exhaustion, burnout, toxic culture, disengagement, or anxiety. Kurian very rightly highlighted lessons from Peter Senge's The Fifth Discipline, emphasizing the power of reflection over running on autopilot, while also showing how journaling small goals can deepen self-awareness. Brenda enriched the conversation by sharing her journey through transitions, finding motivation to keep going and seeking accountability partners during moments of overwhelm. What stood out is how, through honest conversation, coaches can support clients who feel challenged, be it due to role changes or other transitions, by creating space for resilience, reflection, and growth. Brenda also offered valuable insights on handling imposter syndrome. He highlighted how coaches can create safe space for clients to acknowledge their feelings, reframe and their narratives, and move forward with greater confidence. And Kurian, thanks for giving your wisdom on stressing the need to diagnose the patterns in case if there are deviations which are recurring, observing where behaviors, thoughts, or action consistently veer off track, and then deciding on the approach accordingly. So we are truly blessed to have spent this time with you and you connecting with us in the chapter in spite of inconvenience of facing jet lag. I know when last night we connected, you were feeling so groggy, but still confident that you would connect. And Brenda, she was going to take a session that was late at night for us. And even then, I don't know whether she could sleep at all. Thank you so much. And may I, there's small appreciation certificate which we have for you two. I'll request Nandini to share, and also the one for the chapter Washington, D.C. Kurian Parambi, it's
Thank you.
and Brenda Dixon. And I'll now request our
Sandeep, I just wanted to say one thing. I
yeah.
love these two things that came up right at the end, the energy audit and barriers to resilience. I think that that's something that we can, keep in mind going forward to to top like the cherry on the top of the cake we've been eating since the morning. So these are
Yeah.
two brilliant cherries. Wonderful. And it came right at the end with Brenda talking about
And
this.
and
So thank you
which
so
has
much.
given us
Thank you so much, both
food
of you.
for thought for engaging them again.
Thank you. Our pleasure. My pleasure, certainly. Brenda, I'm sure you're excited too.
Sure. Sure,
So
always.
much. And now our next speaker for the next masterclass is Rashmi Singh. Rashmi, hope you have joined from Luxembourg.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
So Rashmi is a leadership coach and a transformation coach based in Luxembourg with over 15 years of experience in human resources and leadership development across global organizations. She partners with senior leaders and teams to navigate complexity, cultural transitions, and purpose-driven change, integrating systemic intelligence, emotional agility, and spiritual intelligence into a practice. And a lot of what we will get to hear from her today. Since 2022, she has dedicated herself full time to coaching and facilitation, focusing on conscious leadership and regenerative organizational cultures. And ICF certified coach, PCC, and secretary of ICF Luxembourg, which is the country chapter. And she has moved there almost 18 months ago and has been able to make her presence felt. Rashmi is also a sought after speaker, mentor, coach, and facilitator across Europe and Asia. So, Rashmi, we're delighted to have you and to share your insights, and looking forward to listen to you.
Very grateful to be here in presence of all of you. And thank you, Sandeep, for the very kind introduction. Is it okay? Is it possible for me to share my
Yeah, you
screen?
can share. Otherwise, we also
Yes,
have.
you can share.
No, you can share
Sure.
it. Nandini has given that permission.
So, thank you very much, all of you, for your presence today for this session. And I'm very excited to be joining this conversation on sustaining well being and designing well being for long term impact. The lens through which I will be contributing to this ongoing conversation today will be from my own lens of learning the systemic work. So, systemic coaching and constellation is something I am a student of and also a practitioner and facilitator. I will also be touching upon the lens of spiritual coaching that I integrate in my work to look at how we can design well being for a long term impact, which is also sustainable. To start, I would like to invite all of you to just slowly arrive in the field. Just be conscious of where you are sitting, how you're sitting. If you can take a few deep breaths wherever you are. And if you want, you can also close your eyes and become conscious of the field you are a part of in this moment. Take a few slow breaths. With each inhale, inviting spaciousness. And with each exhale, letting go of what is not serving you anymore. Take 3 deep breaths. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and arrive here in this field where we are going to talk about well-being. Now, well-being as a topic and resilience as a topic is often seen as a very individual construct. It's seen as an individual strategy that we need to adopt. However, if we just take a step back, we will realize that our well-being is always happening in a relational field. We live in a world where we are always interconnected with others. And how we experience well-being is shaped by how we are experiencing this relational field with others. Often, our well-being is shaped by the experiences that we are carrying within us. And that might be from our family of origin, or from the educational systems that we are a part of, or from the organizational systems later on we became a part of, or the social or the cultural systems we come from. Resilience, as a word, is said to be the ability for someone to have grit, to bounce back, to have mental toughness. But what if it is not only about how we respond, and it is also about what we carry within us? What if it is also about becoming aware of what we are carrying within us? And with that awareness, being able to include and becoming at ease with what we are carrying within us. So, if we can do that work as coaches ourselves, we will be able to do that work with our clients. So, when our clients are coming to us with a challenge of well being, of resilience, if we are able to understand and become at ease with what we carry, we will be able to see our client as more than just the challenge they are bringing to us. We will be able to see all the systems our client is a part of. So we will be able to have a more systemic and whole approach when we are looking at resilience or well being as a challenge. So the systemic work talks about all that we are carrying from our experiences. And often, those things that we are carrying might be hidden for us. They are unconsciously there as patterns in our nervous system, which have been built over years. So, for example, in somebody's family story, there might be a sentence that is often spoken that taking rest is weakness. And unconsciously, that sentence, that taking rest is weakness, is embedded in our nervous system. And we are repeating that, we are carrying that, and we are sometimes not even aware that unconsciously we are carrying that as very strong sentence for us. Sometimes the cultural imprint that we are part of, probably achievement is seen as a higher quality than we being alive. And we are unconsciously carrying that as well. Sometimes, probably the organizational culture we are a part of, burnout is seen as a badge of honor there. And maybe our clients or we ourselves, we are carrying that with us. So, systemic coaching with constellations enables us to look at these patterns, these very hidden loyalties that we are becoming a part of, because we want to belong as humans. The foremost and the foundational need is to belong. So all the systems that we have been a part of, our family system, our educational systems, our organizational systems, we have always tried to follow the rules of those systems in order to belong in those systems. So belonging is our biggest need. And sometimes we are carrying these hidden patterns, or our clients are also carrying these hidden patterns, because they are in the pursuit of belonging in these systems. They have somewhere carried these with them. And becoming aware of these sentences that they are carrying within themselves enables our clients to become at ease with what they are carrying and also have a choice to choose differently if they don't want to carry that anymore. It enables them to become aware and then to probably make a movement towards what will be a better state for them. So we will be using the systemic lens. Today, we will be exploring how we can enable our clients to become aware of these patterns and hence become more aware and move towards a holistic well-being strategy for themselves. In this work, because I'm a student of systemic coaching and constellation, my teacher is John Whittington. So he uses this very beautiful metaphor for the systemic work. It's the tail feathers of peacock. And when we look at the tail feathers of peacock, these are so bright, beautiful, and vibrant. You can imagine that all these tail eyes that you see behind a peacock are like the systems we have been a part of. Each of these eye is a system that we are carrying behind us, like this beautiful peacock tail. And these might look very beautiful, but they can also be sometimes burdensome or heavy if there is a lot that we are carrying that is not serving us anymore. So, systemic coaching with constellation enables us to become aware of these unconscious patterns that we are carrying behind us and probably that are not serving us anymore. So, in this methodology, there is a mapping method and there are systemic principles that are followed. So, using those systemic inquiries, the coach is able to facilitate the session where the client is able to become aware of what are some of the systemic principles that they are not following and is causing imbalance in their system because of which their well-being is getting impacted. So we will be exploring some of these principles today as well. And when we are able to follow these principles, it creates conditions for flow and coherence in our and the client's system. The very first principle of this work is called acknowledging what is. Now, what that principle means is that you all might have heard of this Rumi's quote that beyond the world of right and wrong, there is a world, and I will meet you there. So it is similar to that, that if as coaches, we are able to look at the present reality of the client with a distance, not getting too close in the reality so that we are not able to have a, a look from a distance and see what is happening in the client system, because then there is a risk that we can get entangled in the story of the client and not be able to be useful to them. Maybe we are trying to rescue them if we get too close. So from a distance, if we can be useful to the client and we can stay as much as is required just in the current reality of what is happening in the client system, not trying to rush too fast to move towards solutions, to move towards the desired state, but just to stay in the current reality without judgment. The client feels seen and the client feels heard and the client feels a space of trust where they can also stay in their current reality and become more aware of what is happening for them. This is the principle of acknowledging what is just as it is without trying to move too fast to the future, to the solution. And most of the awareness comes when we are able to have a very appropriate distance from the client and do that work from that distance, being useful to the client, not trying to be helpful to the client. The second principle is the principle of time. So the principle of time is about those who join the system first must be acknowledged so that those who come later can truly take their place and step into their role with full authority. Now, a lot of time in the organizational context, in the leadership context, a leader is facing challenge in a new role. And they're not able to understand why they are facing this challenge in this new role, why they're not able to take their authority as a leader in this new role. And often during systemic inquiries, we have found that when the leader is able to acknowledge the contribution and the work that was done by the previous role holder in that role, the new leader is able to find their own authenticity and authority in the new role. Their team also respects them better if they are able to acknowledge and give respect to what has already been contributed in that role by the previous role holder. So this principle is about respecting the time order in which there has been contribution before in that role. And this is also true in our family system, if we look at that. So our parents came before us in the order of time. And if we can acknowledge and respect that order just as it is, you will see that there is always coherence and flow in the family system if the order is respected. So this is a natural principle of nature and law. And when these naturally occurring principles are acknowledged, then there is a systemic balance in the system. So what this releases is any stuck energy that can be tied to that particular role or in a family system as well, if that person is feeling. And it releases all the confusion and the dynamics that are happening because of not respecting the order. And the person with which, when we are doing a systemic constellation or coaching using the systemic principles, I have often seen that the client feels at ease and the stuck energy is released in that moment, and they feel very calm and they feel very coherent in their system after that. So when time is honored, the system becomes forward facing. So this is the first principle of time. The second principle is the principle of place. This is more about the principle of belonging as well, that everyone has a place, a rightful place in the system, and they should be given their rightful place in the system. And when somebody is not given their rightful place, then the system will always be imbalanced and we will see the dynamics happening in that system. It is true for a family system, it is true for an organizational system, and you would have experienced it that when somebody is not given their appropriate place in a family system, you will see that the family system is not very healthy. And similarly, in an organizational system, in a team, if somebody is not given clear roles and their place and their recognition, the system will not be balanced. The team will not be coherent. The team will not be collaborative. And the health of the team, the health of the individual or organization will always be challenged. So this can also be seen in a team where somebody is contributing continuously and they are not acknowledged for their contribution. And in that time, the team will not be able to collaborate, the team will not be able to have balance. And it impacts the relationship that the team is having with each other and overall the organizational health and performance. So if a systemic sentence in that case would be that if you had place here and you have a place here and I see your contribution and I let it settle, So the moment it is acknowledged, the place is acknowledged, the contribution is acknowledged, the system settles, the individual feels more at ease. It releases any residual tension or hidden guilt that is there in that person or the team if you're coaching a team, and any unconscious repetition in the leadership or team dynamics. So then it creates a space for true belonging, reordering, and forward movement for the individual, for the team, and for the organization. So true resolution comes only when place is seen and honored. And this is also true in family dynamics. So sometimes the client who comes maybe is coming to you for a personal challenge in their relationship system. And when you kind of inquire and see their map, and you're able to build that awareness for them, and they are able to speak a sentence maybe about, for example, if there is a challenge with respect to their relationship with their parents or with their spouse or their children, if they're able to kind of in their consciously, they're able to see that, I'm not giving a proper place to my parents, the place that they should be given, and I'm not honoring that place. Once they're able to do that, they start feeling at ease, and they're able to release that stuck energy that they are experiencing. The next principle is the principle of exchange. Systems stay healthy when there is a continuous balancing of giving and receiving. When exchange is blocked or imbalanced, flow is interrupted and the hidden dynamics emerge. And this can be seen that in every part of a system, individuals, teams, all the stakeholders an organization might be working with, the suppliers, the customers, the leaders, they must participate in reciprocal exchange. So whenever a service is given, it is kind of honored, and a return in whatever value, monetary terms is required for that should be given back for that. And it is also observed in the family systems that when we are in a relationship with somebody, if we are always over giving, then the other person starts feeling so guilty that they are not able to feel at balance. So that in a relationship as system as well, if the balance of exchange is not very healthy, then the relationship will not be in balance and will not have proper conditions for health and well-being. So in coaching, for example, there might be possibility that the coach who is over giving all the time may unconsciously weaken the client or the client system. So service must always be offered with integrity, not with an intention to rescue. The systemic sentence example here could be that I give what's mine to give and allow the system to respond. This releases energy stuck in taking over responsibility, and it allows the system's capacity for movement, for empowerment, and for flow. Helping makes people helpless, be useful in service of the system. Now, there is another lens that I have been studying and I have been integrating in my coaching practice, which is the spiritual intelligence lens. And I often find this to be the anchor for myself and also for my clients when I'm coaching them. So, this is something that enables or sustains well being from the inside out. So, what we saw so far was how well being is sustained from the outside in when we look at it in a relational field, in our interconnectedness with others. Now, what we are looking at is what sustains well being from the inside out. So, what could be our anchor so that we are able to have resilience and well being in any moment or any circumstances in our life, which sustains joy beyond the circumstances. Now, for spiritual intelligence, there are some quotes that I really appreciate. The first one is from Ramana Maharshi, which says that everything that is supposed to happen is happening, not to me, but with me. The second one is from Michael Singer's Living Untethered. You are part of the same force that created the stars and the human body. David Hawkins says the higher the level of consciousness, the greater the power, the clarity, and the joy. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says that wisdom says I'm nothing, love says I am everything. Between the two, my life flows. And Lisa Miller says that spirituality is a natural capacity in the human brain. When we engage it, we thrive. And we have also seen in a lot of research that has been done. For example, David Hawkins' research on the devotional non-duality and consciousness, he has shown that how our brain's frequency changes when we can move from the emotional states of uh, anxiety, regret, despair, when we start moving towards more trust, understanding, serenity, love, peace, the frequency also, the energy frequency also changes. And we experience peace, we experience joy, and we experience love in those moments. So, this mapping could also be shown to the clients to check which are the emotional states that they often find themselves in, and probably inviting them to see how they would want to, which states would they want to move towards. And hence, what are some of the practices that they can engage in, which can enable them to move towards these states? Maybe for some clients, it might be journaling or meditation or connecting with themselves, connecting with nature. So, inviting clients to really becoming aware of which are the emotional domains they are mostly occupied in and what could enable them to move towards the states where their well-being would be more better. Lisa Miller's research on the neural pathways that we start forming in our brains when we become more spiritually aware is a very, very amazing research, because it kind of backs our understanding of spirituality with the fact that people with an active spiritual life have greater resilience, lower depression, and enhanced well-being. And the brain's default mode network lights up during spiritual experiences, indicating a biological basis for transcendence. And spiritual intelligence is not passive, it's a dynamic capacity that can be cultivated. So it is trainable and it can be practiced. And personally, I have seen it in my own journey that spiritual intelligence is a completely trainable and practice, something that can be practiced by us so that we are able to experience peace, joy, and love in all the moments of our life, irrespective of what is happening around us. So, Lisa Miller very beautifully says that spirituality is a natural capacity in the human brain. And when we engage it, we thrive. Now, if we have to look at the mandala of sustained well being, spiritual core, the anchor that we can build for ourselves, is at the core of it, through which we are able to see that we are a part of something larger than ourselves. We no longer look at ourselves as doers, but we can be surrendered in the universe, what is happening in the universe through us as an instrument, and not see ourselves as the doer, which can often bring a lot of anxiety and stress for us. And then, if we are able to look at our systemic field, all the relational field that we are part of, and become aware of what we are unconsciously carrying, and take a conscious choice of what we want to carry or probably what we want to integrate, and balance some of the imbalances which are there in our systemic field, we can feel more at ease and peace, and we can experience joy and build resilience and well-being as a sustainable long-term strategy for us. And with that, we will be able to make, as leaders, as coaches, and in our client system, make sustainable impact. We will be able to create communities where people can be compassionate towards each other, they can have a spiritual core, they can help others, they can be useful in the service of others, and create a world which is at better well-being than where we are currently. Some of the tools for sustainable well-being that can be kind of done as exercises with the clients, which I have done personally for myself and with my clients and have been useful. So for clients who are experiencing a lot of overthinking patterns or anxiety, or some of the mental models, if they are having like, I am not enough, then a mental chatter awareness exercise could be very useful for them. So for that exercise, the clients could be invited to observe and disidentify from their inner narrative. So for example, they can, in a day, at multiple times in the day, maybe 6-7 times in the day, they can just note down what is the mental chatter that they are having in that moment without judgment. So just writing, what was my mental chatter? What was I doing at that time of my mental chatter? And what is the emotion this mental chatter is evoking for me? So when the client is able to make that kind of a log for them, it will give them a pattern. What are some of the emotional domains mostly triggered for me with my mental chatter? And then they have a choice to decide, do they want to continue carrying those emotional domains, or they want to kind of do something about it? And do they even want to believe their thoughts that they are having, depending on whether the thoughts are serving them or not serving them? Another exercise is an alternate reality exercise. So for an alternate reality exercise, if from the mental chatter exercise, the client is understanding. So for example, for one of my clients, the pattern that came was, I am not enough. So most of the thoughts that they had, they could see that they are not enough through those thoughts. So then the exercise that I invited them to do for the next week was, if I am not enough is the current thought pattern, what is an alternate reality they want to create for themselves, which might be that I am enough? And to see that I am enough, what are some of the evidences the client can collect for themselves in whatever is happening around them? So every time that they have an evidence that I am not enough, reject that evidence and only collect evidence with respect to when I am feeling that I am enough. And when they continue to do that, they were able to find a lot of evidence for the alternate reality that they want to build for themselves. And that really shifted the lens through which they were looking at themselves and dissociate with the earlier thought patterns. Another very useful tool for building resilience and well-being would be the gratitude journaling exercise. So every time they are going to bed, if they could take 5 minutes to just write down what are they grateful for, or what are they feeling gratitude towards, any things, people, or in general in their life. And also when they wake up, if they can spend 5 minutes just in terms of checking what are they grateful for. And this exercise has been researched. It is also in Martin Seligman's positive psychology research. It has shown that the well-being of the person increases exponentially when they are able to have gratitude and when they are able to be grateful for what is happening in their life. Now, I would like to invite all of you to do a resourcing exercise for all of you. And for this, I would invite you, if you have a piece of paper with you, then you can just take a piece of paper, tear a piece of paper, and make 4 small piece of papers for yourself. And on the first piece of paper, you can just write spiritual resources. And in spiritual resources, you can mention any places, people, activities that you do that enables you to connect with your spiritual resources. On the second paper, you can write emotional resources and think about any activities, people, relationship that you connect with that enables you to access your emotional resources. Now take another piece of paper on which you can write your somatic resources. So what are some of the activities, people, relationships that enables you to feel more at ease with respect to your body, connect with your body, to feel more at ease with your body. And on the last paper, you can write what are some of your mental resources. So any activities, people, relationships that enables you to have a better mental capacity, a mind that is more at ease. Now place all of these 4 resources in front of you, or maybe on the table that is there in front of you, and write, when I am in flow and coherence, I experience. So what do you experience when you are in flow and coherence? Probably love, clarity, flow. So what is that one word that you experience when you are in flow and coherence? Now choose a representative from around you, maybe on your table. If you can find any object to represent yourself, it could even be like a pen or your watch or your AirPod or your phone, whatever. So just find any object near you and take that object to represent you. And now place that object in relation to all these 4 resources, inventories that you have written, the spiritual resources, the emotional resources, somatic and mental. And now place yourself, where do you feel currently you are? Do you feel closer to the spiritual resources or emotional resources or somatic or mental? What is your true place currently with respect to these 4 fields of spiritual, emotional, somatic, and mental resources? Place yourself in between them, wherever you feel is your current true place. And now I invite you to think about, where do you, if you were given an opportunity to make a movement, where do you want to move? What will be a step towards better for you? What will make you feel more of that flow and coherence experience? Which position will be better for you? And as you make that movement, what are you becoming aware of? What becomes possible for you from this place to integrate in your daily practice? You can also write a sentence that is true for you from this new place, from what is becoming more possible for you now from this place. Now, I invite all of you to again arrive in the field as we started in the beginning, to integrate what we traveled together during this session today. And what is one thing that you are taking with you as an embodied experience from this session today? What could enable your sustainable well-being? Thank you very much, everyone, for your presence, for your openness for this session today. And I would like to invite if there are any comments, questions now.
I was sharing that everyone is so mesmerized. Rashmi, the kind of calming impact your entire session has had, and the new perspective which you brought in. That resilience is not merely about showing grit or bouncing back. It's equally about what lies beneath the surface. Often our nervous systems carries unconscious patterns shaped by culture and context, which may deeply influence how we respond to challenges. And that's when you came out that a truly sustainable approach to resilience requires a systemic and holistic lens, one that looks at these patterns and brings awareness to our foundational needs. Using the beautiful matter of a peacock's tail feathers, how we can explore the burden what we unconsciously carry, and acknowledging them from a respectful distance, so that we can be useful to the clients rather than coming for their rescue. Um, Spiritual intelligence offers guiding principles that can support their transformation. You beautifully explain the principle of time, place, exchange. And when these principles are integrated into coaching, they really create pathways for resilience that go beyond survival, cultivating balance, wholeness, and long term well being. You also explained beautifully that spiritual intelligence helps us grow from the inside out, enabling a deeper awareness of our inner state and how it shapes our outer responses. Drawing on David Hawkins' ascension journey of consciousness, we can guide the clients also to recognize their current state, identify limiting patterns, and consciously choose their next step in the journey. Spiritual journey, intelligence is not fixed, it is trainable. Through personal effort, reflection, and practice, we can ascend the higher levels of consciousness and resilience. The tools shared for sustainable well being have been truly insightful, reminding us that balance and awareness can be cultivated with intention. The concluding activity on resources and inner work was experiential and powerful, creating heightened self awareness and offering participants a tangible sense of how inner growth translates into outer resilience. We are truly grateful to have you with us. And while it'll be difficult to capture what all you have shared, but it's been my humble effort to summarize it. And I'll request Dexter also to come forward in case if he has any impressions to share.
No,
Thank you,
I'm
Sandeep.
truly mesmerized by the session. This has brought such a different approach to resilience that it has been really remarkable. And every step of the way, you have been unfolding, the rose, as they say. A rose can't be unfolded by your own hands. It has to have a natural process of unfolding. And I think you've helped unfold the rose of resilience.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that metaphor.
And may I now request our chapter president to Mr. Sanjeev Bhatia to present the certificate of appreciation for this profound work, for also well-researched slides, and also give his vote of thanks and closing remarks. Over to you, Sanjeev Bhatia.
Thank you, Sandeep and Dexter, for holding the fort. I think both of you have done extremely well, and thank you, Rashmi. I've been following you, and yes, today, not only me, others, they had an opportunity to hear you out. I think the kind of dimension what you talked about are very practical, can be used on ourselves first before we really apply to our clients. And I think, yes, That also helps me to move from being teaching or teaching to implementing myself first. Lot to comprehend, to be honest with you. Lot to be done on myself. I'm not talking about others at the moment, but yes, I think somebody wrote to me in private. They want the slides. If it's fine with you, you can share the slides, because some may have been taking the screenshots, some may not be. Um, I'm for sure going to listen it again. But thank you very much for connecting with us from such a distance and holding the fort at ICF. It's not a joke. I'm really fan for your work, the kind of things we are doing. Thank you very much for your presence, for sharing, generosity, everything. I'm also thankful to the audience, spending Saturday meaningfully. Of course, our standard says that we need to keep on developing ourselves, spending time, and it's important. So I want all of you really to join hands in handing over this small certificate, which is just a token of small appreciation to Rashmi. If you really loved her session, give your heart and clap with full volume. Thank you, Rashmi, for your session. Thanks a ton.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Uh, uh, and Dexter, we may be having Luxembourg also.
Sorry?
We may be having the certificate for Luxembourg also.
Yes, we do. We
Yeah.
do.
So Nandini, if you can share that as well, because actually Rashmi is the one who's anchoring the entire collaboration initiative, which we have signed up for between the Luxembourg chapter and ISF Mumbai Charter chapter. Thank you so much, Rashmi, for all your efforts. And we look forward to even strengthening it further. The CCU link form has been posted in the chat, and we request all of you to fill it up. And in case if not now, it should reach us by next 2 days. And we assure to send you the certificate for all those who have been able to complete the eligibility criteria in the next 14 days. That is by 18th of October. Thank you very much once again to all the audience,
I
everyone
want
in
to
the
take
MC
a minute,
members.
if you don't mind.
Sorry, yeah, please.
Yes, first of all, I must thank the Luxembourg and all the collaborating chapters in our 10 years of celebration of Mumbai Charter Chapter. I think we've been getting a lot of support from these chapters coming from all across the globe. In fact, we started with 10 and we have 12 now. It looks like that other chapters, they want to collaborate with us, and we are really, really happy about it. We are welcoming them with open heart, and that's what our chapter members have been also trying to do. They have been engaging in one after another, and I would also like to thank the support that chapter members have given to the managing committee and the managing committee, where the Sandeep Dexter, Aniket, even the Anita and my secretary Vinod, treasurer Tapas, Preeti, Anju, them so many. I'm really missing quite a lot of them who really constantly supported. And we just completed on 30th September our 1 year of tenure. And this is just uh, kind of thing road what we thought of. We have completed. We are going beyond the target, and for the coming this year, starting from 1st of October, the target has been stretched by the MC members, and I need to see how I can satisfy them as a president. So I think they, instead of me taking them on the task, they are taking me on the task. And yes, being on the chair, they're bringing a lot of challenge for me. And yes, with the support of all of them and the chapters, I think we can do many more things to come, times to come. Thank you very much for joining. We love you all, and keep joining, keep challenging us, show your messages, ask, demand. what do you want? We'll try, and not only if we can't do it, we'll get it done through other chapters who have been joining us. Thank you very much. Over to you, Sandeep.
The growing globalization spirit with every event, every passing event, we on an average are connecting with 35 to 40 cities, of which earlier it used to be 30% overseas cities. Like in today's session, it has been 50% to 34 cities and 17 from within the country and 17 overseas. It is not the number alone, but in terms of the impact, larger impact, which with which we started as an objective, and that's why we adopted this Beyond 10 series, of which Dexter is the architecture, and which is now coming to fruition with this 7th milestone. I think it's been a collaborative effort within the chapter, and the way other chapters have come forward, and they've been very forthcoming. Like today we had Brenda from Washington, D.C. and Rashmi Singh from Luxembourg. So, which speaks in terms of the graciousness of the coaches. And that is why coaching is also such a respectable profession. Thank you, man.
Well
Thank
said,
you.
everybody. Well said. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we've ended with Rashmi's session, because this has given us something to really reflect on. You've brought resilience, which is a hard coconut, but you've given us the sweet water from within to relish and to be able to rejuvenate our senses. So really nice. I have not experienced this aspect of understanding resilience before, I must confess. Okay, we have certain things in our mind, but it's the first time I've actually heard something about constellations, and the way you've brought this forward. I particularly, like almost everybody has said, enjoyed the last exercise, which kind of brought everything to a head. And the silence that you had at the end was because all of us were trying to figure out those 4 boxes and the integration across them, and how we can embody it. So I think we've not finished that exercise yet, and I'm sure a good part of the day we'll be still having that in mind.
And that's the best part, can all of us intuitive learning with us.
If anybody would like to unmute and say something about any session in the day, and this, of course, including Rashmi's session, please feel free to unmute and just speak. No permission required. Just unmute and speak.
I just want to say that this is very, very powerful, and I am so grateful to be a part of this community of coaches, and bringing in the spiritual aspect of it, looking at the whole coherence of our clients in relationship to resilience was extremely powerful. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I guess we will keep ruminating on this and come back with our thoughts. But for now, I think we are okay.
Yeah, Rashmi, it'll take some time for us to reflect, and then maybe your inbox will be flooded. Which so we are requesting everyone who have any impressions or any comments or any queries, they can send it to us in the chapter, and we'll collate and get back to you.
And our speakers have been very generous to share their presentations with us.
Yeah.
So we will be then sending them out to you, so you won't miss out on any of the slides, in case you were wondering. Okay, none of us want to leave the place.
Sorry, share something?
Please do.
Yeah, so it's been a very insightful because the speakers were from different backgrounds, different cultures, and very practical questions and discussions like what happens in organizations, how you get rejected, how do you, very practical ones. And it was like a funnel where the whole convergence happened and the whole systematic, how you look at it in a systemic place. That was, and how do you map yourself within those resources, where what is your location? Sometimes because of things we just lose sight. So that was really, really very helpful. And thank you for this wonderful bouquet of cross-cultural potpourri here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ravi,
We
you've
can
been there right
release
from
you
the
to the
beginning.
rest of the day.
Yeah, Ravi.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for connecting with us right from the beginning. You were there before time and you are staying. Anything you have to say?
No, it was very valuable. I enjoyed it a lot and I learned a lot. And it was a good way to spend an early morning in Sweden.
Oh, lovely.
Lovely to have you. So if there are no more comments, we wish you all the best for rest of the weekend. And thanks for spending these 6.5 hours with us, about 6 hours with us, and listening to us patiently.
That required resilience too.
Yeah, it's pure
Thank
display of
you,
resilience.
and bye-bye to everyone.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye,
Sudhir.
everybody. Bye.
Take
Bye, bye,
care.
bye,
Bye now.
Bye.
bye.